The 2026 UEFA Europa League final in Istanbul offers a massive prize. A victory secures continental silverware and a ticket straight into the Champions League. Aston Villa meets SC Freiburg. These two clubs have zero historical data to draw from. They have never played a competitive match against each other. This bar chart breaks down the Opta supercomputer's pre-match simulations. You can see a heavy lean toward the English side, giving Aston Villa a 67.8% probability of lifting the trophy. That heavy tilt comes down to the technical area. Unai Emery has spent the last decade building a tactical methodology specifically for the mechanics of knockout football. He has won the Europa League 4 times already. Since taking over Villa, he's maintained an 85.7% win rate in this competition. Backing Villa means betting that historical expertise and tactical maturity will dictate the rhythm of a European final. SC Freiburg and Julian Schuster bring the exact opposite approach. They thrive on high-intensity pressing and chaotic transitions to break down rigid systems. This trendline shows Freiburg's goal-scoring output across the campaign. Notice the sharp spike here at the end. They've put away 15 goals in their last 5 matches. There is a specific logistical detail at play at the Beşiktaş Stadium. The match kicks off at 10 p.m. local time in Istanbul. That late start means cooler temperatures, which shifts the metabolic math for the players on the pitch. Less heat fatigue allows Freiburg to execute repetitive, high-speed sprints deep into the second half without hitting a physical wall. The environment arms the underdog with the stamina required to punish any late-game drops in Villa's concentration. The core tactical clash comes down to Aston Villa's positional control against Freiburg's momentum-driven pressure. Emery uses highly structured passing patterns to dictate the opening 20 minutes of a knockout tie, aiming to drain the energy out of the opposition early. Schuster builds his defensive block specifically to snap those passing lanes and force awkward turnovers. This decision tree maps the transition battle, hinging on the moment Villa loses possession in the middle third. If the mid-block holds, they recover the ball and reset possession. If it breaks down, Freiburg launches a vertical counterattack directly at the center halves. Aston Villa's control requires absolute discipline. A single positional mistake in midfield directly feeds Freiburg's most lethal offensive strategy. Aston Villa relies on an exceptionally high defensive line. By pushing the defense up, they compress the pitch. This packs the final third, giving creators the density needed to dominate. This pitch map shows the clear trade-off. By squeezing up, Villa leaves a massive pocket of unprotected space directly behind their center backs. We saw this flaw exposed earlier in the season when Villa dropped points against high-transition teams like Nottingham Forest and Go-Ahead Eagles. SC Freiburg operates with the exact same aggressive, forward-passing profile as those clubs. The primary shape Aston Villa uses to assert dominance is the precise vulnerability Freiburg is built to exploit. Tactical systems provide the framework, but individual execution determines the ceiling. For Freiburg, Vincenzo Grifo is the primary differentiator. He has 9 goal involvements in the Europa League this season, bringing supreme efficiency to set pieces and penalties. His delivery is sharp enough that Villa's defenders have to play with passive caution in their own third, terrified of giving away a cheap foul. That caution becomes much harder to maintain when you factor in the medical report. This tactical formation board highlights the problem. Villa are sweating on the fitness of Amadou Onana and Boubacar Kamara. If those 2 central enforcers are missing, the back line is exposed to direct runs. This forces last-ditch tackles that result in dangerous set pieces. The sharpest tactical plan falls apart if the physical spine required to execute it is stuck in the recovery room. Let's run these variables through the data. Opta ran 10,000 match simulations to project how the final will physically play out. This quadrant chart maps outcomes based on which team imposes their style. If Emery's mid-block dictates the tempo, the numbers point to a 2-1 Villa victory. But if the match devolves into transition chaos, the model highlights a 1-1 draw pushing into extra time. Reaching that 1-1 scenario requires flawless execution from Freiburg center backs to survive 90 minutes against Ollie Watkins. Because both teams force such extreme tactical trade-offs, both teams to score emerges as the most stable data point across the board. For the tactical purist, the decision is clear. Backing Aston Villa is a straightforward bet on technical superiority and the manager's ability to adjust on the fly. For the risk optimizer, the true value lies with SC Freiburg. Their offensive volatility and transition speed make them perfectly equipped to upset the odds. 90 minutes separates one of these clubs from continental silverware. This matchup tests structural rigidity against explosive chaos. Success in Istanbul belongs to the team that manages to dictate the terms of engagement and forces the opposition into an uncomfortable style of play. The consensus points to one team taking it home, Aston Villa. They enter the final following a dominant run of form throughout the competition. Their manager, Unai Emery, has won this exact tournament a record 4 times. That pedigree is why sportsbooks have installed the Villains as favorites to lift the trophy, pricing them at 1.75. Standing in their way is SC Freiburg. They arrive as the underdog, bringing a chaotic, high-scoring energy that makes them a threat to the established narrative. This comparison matrix shows the baseline metrics for both clubs. Aston Villa boasts a 12-2 record with 28 goals scored. Freiburg comes in at 9 wins, 2 draws, and 3 losses, putting up 25 goals of their own. The dilemma for the bettor is the price. A 1.75 return implies a nearly 60% probability of a Villa victory, which leaves very little margin for error if the match fails to follow the expected script. Finding actual financial value in this matchup requires moving past gut feelings and managerial reputations. Instead, we rely on Monte Carlo simulations. They run the match thousands of times to map out probable outcomes based on hard data. They digest the raw performance metrics, goals for, goals against, and expected goals, to calculate the exact probability of specific game states. This mathematical approach identifies value by analyzing how bookmakers have priced the total goal flow, rather than just focusing on who lifts the trophy. Aston Villa brings a disciplined defense to Istanbul, keeping 8 clean sheets and conceding only 8 goals all tournament. Freiburg, meanwhile, has been on a scoring tear, netting 15 goals in their last 5 fixtures. Betting on an outright Villa win assumes they can maintain that strict defensive structure against Freiburg's current momentum, but that structure is under pressure. Villa is missing their primary midfield holding anchors, Amadou Onana and Boubacar Kamara, to injury. Freiburg is also depleted, missing a core quadrant of players, Rosenfelder, Osterhag, Kjær, and Suzuki. This creates a destabilized midfield battle for both sides. When you compound these absences, the likelihood of a wide-open transitional game state increases. The safety of a low-scoring, clean-sheet victory becomes much harder to guarantee. Looking at individual player props, Vincenzo Grifo is the primary weapon to exploit that weakened Villa midfield. He has delivered top-tier output this tournament with 5 goals and 4 assists, and he serves as Freiburg's primary penalty taker. Because of that production, an anytime goal scorer bet on Grifo offers lucrative 4.5 odds. Its turn-off is execution. You're betting that a Freiburg offense that concedes goals can flawlessly navigate Emery's defensive system. This quadrant chart plots the probability of an outcome on the x-axis against the bookmaker payout on the y-axis. We are targeting the upper right quadrant, the value zone. Returning to the Monte Carlo data, the simulation predicts the over 2.5 goals market hitting in 3 out of every 4 modeled scenarios. Compare that 75% probability with the bookmaker payout. They are offering 1.95 odds, which implies they believe there is only a 51% chance of it occurring. This stark 24-point discrepancy between the math and the market creates broken odds. It gives the bettor a significant positive expected value, a plus 0.62 mathematical advantage. The both teams to score market offers a similar edge. The simulations give both teams finding the back of the net a 65% probability. Historical data supports these models. Both teams have scored in 5 of the last 7 Europa League finals. Playing the goal totals secures a mathematically proven value play. It helps avoid the unpredictable variance of picking a single elimination match winner. While the emotional narrative favors an Aston Villa victory, the cold mathematics prioritize the goal count.